Everybody Hates Rand is a Wheel of Time podcast that will contain spoilers for all 14 books. So if you're anti-spoiler, stop this, read all 14 books, and come back. We'll be here, waiting.
Our title is a joke and is meant to be taken as such. Everybody in this context refers to us and our cats. You are free to feel however you want about Rand. He's a fictional character. Please don't DM us.
The world is a mess, Dark One stretching out his hand. The dragon's reborn, the fire's been fanned, but everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand.
Hello.
Hello.
This is Everybody Hates Rand, your friendly neighborhood Wheel of Time podcast. I'm Emily Jushaw.
And I'm Sally Goodger.
It's 2023, baby!
Oh yeah, when you hear this, it will be 2023.
2023.
Yippee.
Yippee, yeah. I know that E is like one of the most easily rhymable words, sounds in the English language, but couldn't think of anything.
2023. Happy birthday to me.
Well,
In
that
March.
one's nice because it's applicable to everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Happy birthday, everybody.
Everyone's gonna have a birthday in 2023, so.
That's true.
So, speaking of birthdays, Neald's only 17, apparently.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that fucking mind-blowing?
It was kind of mind-blowing, but also kind of made a lot of sense, given Neald's just
his
general behavior.
Until I read that, I thought he was like 30.
Me too. I thought he and Grady were both just, like, dudes in their 30s.
Yeah, but Neald's 17 and Grady's like 20-something.
Yeah, okay.
Grady is just prematurely aged.
Which, like, I guess makes sense, because statistically we're told if you're gonna channel, then you're gonna have to do it pretty young.
Yeah.
Except for, like, the rare outliers who I guess are just wilders, or who can be taught, such as Damer Flynn. So...
Yeah, you're right. It does make sense within the logic of the universe.
Grady and Neal just have such old man energy.
Absolutely.
Like, middle-aged man. Like, they've seen so much.
Yeah.
And I mean, they have, literally. They were at Human Meat Grinder 20K, 2K, 22, or whatever.
Whenever we talked about that.
A little while ago, I guess.
It's also, like,
chaos.
much more upsetting the way that Perrin treats them, knowing Neald is 17.
Yeah, imagine you're just like, hey, 17-year-old, work yourself to the bone.
Yeah.
But I guess people do that. Okay, so Knife of Dreams. Unfortunately, we read 3 whole chapters, but, it's a lot of the same old, so not too much ground to cover. We first are with Perrin as he and the 2 main Shanshan people who are on his side now go to a Shanshan-occupied town in whatever zone. I, completely lose track of where Perrin is on the map at this point.
Yeah, same.
There's, a stretch there that I'm just he's somewhere in that radius. Somewhere in Altara /Gialdan /Amadicia /Murandy. I don't know.
He's there in the middle of all those countries.
Anyway, they're going there to fulfill 2 tasks. I don't know why we really need to be there for one of the tasks, because it wasn't something that we knew was needed. But the other one is for them to get the fork root, which we do know about. But the first task is for them to, commit... I can't think of the military terms, but they need to, get some of the rockin' flyers.
Oh yeah, they requisition a bunch of
Requisition, thank you. You're so smart. They requisitioned a bunch of the pterodactyl beasts.
Yes.
To do God knows what. I can't remember. I think they're being sent out to scout or find something. I literally don't know, and this is how it's gonna be for the next little while, guys. I don't know, and I frankly cannot bring myself to care.
Yeah.
About the minutia of this little subplot.
Yeah.
Normally I am very interested in battles, things like that,
Battles interest me.
Macathon and I are similar in that way. And the actual nitty-gritty of the Battle of Malden does kind of interest me, but all this lead up to it I just find really annoying. It's not like Ocean's 11 where all the lead up is fun.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, I just wish we were there already. So does Perrin. Perrin tells us that it's been 50-something days since Fail has been kidnapped. And boy, is he upset about that. He's like, guys, we can't focus on a single other thing until we get Fail. Up to and including the Shanshan occupying just half of this continent. A guy who just turned into beetles?
Oh my god.
Nope, that's not relevant to us. It's not Fail. He's so whack. Like, everyone's like, yo, that dude just turned into beetles. And Perrin's like, I don't know what to tell you guys, but it doesn't have to do with Fail, so get over it. And they're like, you're right, Perrin. I'll just scrub that image from my brain acid right this moment, because it doesn't have anything to do with Fail. You're right. A guy turned into beetles right in front of my eyeballs. But
don't multiple people turn into beetles?
Just the one dude.
Just the one dude? I feel like he turns into a lot of beetles.
He turns into quite a lot of beetles. He, like, vomits up a bunch of beetles, and then eventually it's just, like, beetles. The imagery is meant to be, like, it was just a skin suit full of beetles.
Yeah.
That's, so we're just left with skin and beetles. There are rumors of other people turning into bugs. Like, one of the Shanshan guy who witnesses this is like, oh yeah, I heard about something like that, but it was centipedes. And I'm like, what bug would you...
What bug would I want to be turned into?
BuzzFeed personality test. What
I want to be turned into bees.
That's a good one. It's hard to beat that one. Because, one, bees are good for the environment, so via your sacrifice, you would be helping to save the planet.
Especially because you turn into, like, 1 billion bugs.
Yeah.
We would net 1 billion bees.
It's however many... It's like one of those jar contests, how many gummy candies are in this jar? It's like, how many bees do you think would fit in your skin suit?
Yeah. I don't know. That's a great question.
I'm trying to think of what bugs I would want in me, but... Frankly, I can't think of any. I'm not a big bug person.
Yeah, I'm not a big bug person. You could be butterflies. Those are also very good for the environment. They're pollinators.
Yeah, that's nice.
Sort of peaceful.
I don't feel like it would fit my personality very well, though.
Okay, you could turn into...
I think I'd want to turn into, like, 4 feral raccoons.
Okay, yeah.
I know those aren't rodents, and I'm sort of going off, coloring outside the lines here, but... I really like raccoons. I think they're just funny little guys.
Oh, they're neat.
And so weird and mean. And I like them. And I think it would be... I think there would be an element of humor to the skin suit falling away to reveal like a bunch of 5-year-olds trying to get into an R-rated movie. It's just a bunch of raccoons in there piloting this bitch.
Yeah, 4 feral raccoons. I think that is a powerful combination we've made. 1 billion bees and 4 feral raccoons. Good job, EHR hosts.
It's like a math problem. Yeah. It's like a word problem.
Yeah, so if someone wants to draw us new fan art instead of me and Emily...
If Sally vomits up 100 million bees, how many bees are left in her skin suit?
I really don't know if I'd turn into 1 billion bees. That seems like an overestimate. But I do feel like this man turns into so many beetles. Like, the whole floor of the tent is just covered in beetles.
Yeah, they're like in a fucking, like...
It's like a scene from The Mummy.
Yeah, parents just, like, crunching. You know what? Yeah. I bet Robert Jordan did watch The Mummy.
Yeah, and he was like...
Get me a piece of that flavor.
I wanna pepper in some plagues
Break me off
Egypt.
A piece of that.
Yeah.
Scarab.
Yeah.
Terror. But that's the big event, is that a bunch of bugs came out of a guy, and everyone's like, yo, what the fuck? And Perrin's like, move it along. No one pay attention to that man who just died by bugs.
Yeah, like, I know I just made a joke about the plagues of Egypt, but there is obviously very sort of, like, apocalyptic imagery going on with literally the dead walking, and, they're not literally locusts, but beetles are pretty close.
There's also a weather issue later. Yeah. In Elayne's point of view, where just like a storm forms over Camelin or whatever, and we are given no indication as to whether it is it's obviously unnatural, but like, are there Aes Sedai on the bad guy's side who are causing that, which seems like a violation of the oaths, because you don't know where that lightning might strike. Someone could die. Or is it just, like, another bubble of evil targeting Camelin specifically, which I can get behind?
Yeah. The Dark One was like, this Elayne
I fucking hate this
is
subplot.
so
Send in the lightnings, Reginald!
Yeah. Yeah, I was very annoyed by that too, because obviously we can identify the beetle suit as a bubble of evil. That's pretty clear.
Beetle suit.
The blue beetle. But yeah, the weather is very silly. But it is just, like, further going back to the beetle suit. Like, I know we keep driving this hammer home, but you're Paranibara. A man turns into beetles in front of you. And just nothing.
He's just like, I'm not even gonna, like, sit and cry about that for a minute. I'm just gonna flagellate myself for not having rescued Fail yet.
I was like, if I saw a man turn into beetles, I would be puking for, like, an hour straight.
Yeah, I would, like, book some therapy, do something of that kind.
Pronto. Whatever. They get their fucking pterodactyls because Perrin's got his magic permission slip from Suroth that he got from God knows where.
Still can't remember where that thing came from. But that done, they then go over to this manufactory where where fork root is being made, and with some wheeling and dealing, they manage to requisition all of that as well. It's pretty boring, Shanshan politics, stuff like that. The only other thing of note, really, that happens, as far as I remember, is that as they are riding into this little town, they notice that a bunch of tinkers are all around gathering, which sort of lines up with what Matt saw in the last book, I believe, Crossroads of Twilight, or was it this book? No, it was last book. It's all blending together. Lots of tinkers are moving south toward Shanshan-occupied territory.
I think that was this book.
It was when he bought Two on the Horse. So was that this book?
Yeah.
Because we talked about zebras so much.
Yeah. The other thing that happens is that Perrin gets shot with an arrow.
Oh, yeah. I totally forgot. That tells you how significant it is. With the Tinkers thing, the only thing that's interesting about that is that the Shanshan tell us that they have nothing like the Tinkers over in Shanshan. So they'll be great.
Yeah, they would never harm a pacifist community.
Yeah, no big deal.
No biggie.
And Perrin gets a chance to be like, look how cool I am. I really admire the Tinkers, despite all my microaggressions against them.
Yeah, it's like Perrin's like the 18th century equivalent of having, like, a bunch of stolen African art in your house and being like, I just feel a deep connection.
I just feel it feels so powerful to me.
Yeah, I just feel a deep connection to their culture.
Yeah. And then at the end, Perrin gets shot by an arrow. And they're like, we don't know. The guys who shot the arrow just immediately took poison when they saw that they missed, so we have no opportunity of knowing where that came from. And Perrin's just like, shrug emoji, moves along. He's like, well, it could have been Masima, or it could have been any of the Forsaken. And it's like, yeah, we're kind of, I guess, at this stage of the book where attempts on your life, as with Matt in the last book with that giant knife fight, are just like so dime a dozen that it's not even really relevant who's attempting them. Yeah, like even Aram attempting to kill Perrin later in this book kind of doesn't really even dent my faith in Perrin's plot armor,
No,
like, whatever. Not. Dude got an arrow in him.
Yeah, but also, like, Niald heals him immediately, so it is...
Oh, no, it's so funny. Niald comes up, like, with his hands outstretched. He's like, I will heal you. And Perrin's like, later. But I just think the image of Niald squirming his way through the crowd with his hands up, like, look at my magic hands. Remember?
Remember my magic hands?
Remember, I can do the magic and make you not have blood.
I wish he could. What is that? Desanguinate Perrin?
Spell of no blood. Anyone can do it, given a sharp enough instrument.
I cast no blood.
D&D spell.
Roll a D4.
Or whatever. We then switch over to Andor, where Elayne is watching her walls get attacked for the nth time in however many weeks. Everyone's like, now, Elayne, remember, don't go toward the fighting. And she's like, I absolutely would never. I'm not an idiot. And then at the very first opportunity, she goes straight toward the fighting so she can, I don't know, talk to Brigitte or something. It's just, I don't really know what's going on with Elayne. I mean, I do know what's going on with Elayne here. What Robert Jordan is doing, just like, in like 1,000 pages, he's making the same point that 30 Rock already made with their funny sketch about a woman being president.
Sure.
Where she's giving a press conference and in the middle says, "Oh no, my period!"
Yeah. Yeah, let's nuke Russia or whatever.
Let's nuke Russia! And it's like, yeah, I guess Robert Jordan, either sincerely or comedically, tough to tell with the framing, believes that, you know, women are unstable and can't have power, especially when there's anything going on with, like, their period or being pregnant or whatever. Elayne's just so fucking moody all of the time.
Yeah, it's like the thesis statement, again, comedically or otherwise, seems to be like, women shouldn't have power because their hormones are too unpredictable. Periods, babies,
You
whatever womanly things they have going on that day. Yeah, the moon.
Who God only knows what would happen.
Their wombs are wandering.
Yeah, it's fucking hysterical.
Yeah.
Like, these 2 chapters end with Elayne just, like, screaming her head off in front of, like, 10 people, some of whom are, like, dignitaries from foreign places, such as the Sea Folk, even though she clearly doesn't consider them to be important that way, and does not treat them that way. And we're just supposed to be like, yeah, that was a totally well-earned moment of her screaming her head off because she's so frustrated and so upset because everyone keeps pointing out how she needs to get out of her wet clothes. And it's like, Elayne, you do need to get out of your wet clothes.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, it's vaguely annoying that everyone's treating you like you're made of glass while you're pregnant, but your reverse response, which is acting like you are unbreakable, as in Bruce Willis in the M. Night Shyamalan movie Unbreakable,
Sure.
is also not rational. Like, yeah, sure, maybe if you want to believe your weird logic that you can't die while you're pregnant because Min said your babies will be fine. Not true. I mean, just, like, even if you believe that, you could still get pneumonia.
Yeah.
How will you rule the country then?
Yeah.
You know? Like, you are a leader. Yes, sorry, your health is important. Especially in siege time.
Yeah, I also just feel like, yes, everybody is babying her, and that's really annoying. But it also, like, saying, like, hey, you should go put on some dry clothes and get warm, feels to me more almost like a pleasantry. Like,
yeah, it's just...
Of course it could be taken as annoying if the tone is right, but, like, just be like, yep, going to put on some dry clothes. I don't need to scream about it.
Yeah, she's just like, God, so everyone who's seen me has reacted to the fact that I am dripping wet. And I'm like, are they supposed to ignore that fact completely?
Yeah.
They would walk away and be like, oh my God, I didn't say anything about the fact that she's dripping wet. What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
You know, that's how the human brain works.
Yeah.
And also, Elayne, if you want them to quit babying you, quit acting like a baby. Sorry.
Yeah, like, quit acting like a petulant teenager, which you are, I guess, technically, even though you're
less than Neald.
20. I know. Neald. You don't see Neald screaming at the top of his lungs.
Although he deserves it.
Yeah, despite all the labor law violations.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
So, yeah, there's just nothing else to say. Like, Robert Jordan just thinks Elayne acting irrationally is
the height of comedy.
Yeah.
The big important thing that happens here is that we finally meet Charles.
Charles with a Z.
Charles with a Z. Guybon. I don't know. Guybon?
Charles Guybon.
Guybon.
My name's Guybon.
Guybon. Charles Guybon.
Yeah, Guybon.
Guybon. By what?
It's the most absurd name. Guybon.
It makes no sense. It's literally like Robert Jordan was having a stroke while writing that name specifically.
Guybon.
I'm going to put a Z at the end of it, just for fun.
Charles Guybon. Is it supposed to be some deranged derivative of Charles de Gaulle?
Who fucking knows? Anyway, he shows up with like 10,000 soldiers, which is kind of a big deal. And Elayne's like, fuck yeah, that's a great deal. You're also promoted, because Brigitte needs a second in command so she can fucking sleep. Because apparently literally no one else in this city can do that job.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, stop it. I don't believe you. But yeah, Charles is like just a dude in his 20s who's like the one who reports this. And Elayne's like, congratulations, you've just been promoted. And he's like, I have no experience.
Yeah.
And she's like, that doesn't really matter because you're very hot.
And tragically,
you were the one
true.
who gave me the good news, so there you go. I'd like to imagine who would I like to imagine Charles Guybon to be in a tumultuous romantic relationship with? Isn't there a captain of the guard in Tarvalon too? Or am I imagining that?
Oh no, I think there is, yeah.
I just think
Don't know what
captains
his
of the
name
guard
is.
should get to,
Yeah.
fuck.
Yeah.
Kiss a little.
Yeah, just kiss a little as a treat.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Love is love.
Love wins.
Love wins. Whether you're the captain of the guard or not.
Um,
Charles Guybon, you could be with the guy in Tarvalon, you could be with...
I think Charles Guybon should, like, get to do lots of things to help deal with the problems in Andor. I think he should be, like, a honey trap for Mazrim Tim.
That sounds fabulous.
Then we could have, like, a fatal attraction type of thing going
Yeah.
on. And then he could stab Mazrim Tim or something. And that would be nice for me. Specifically.
Yeah, I love the plot that Charles I can't say his name, Charles Guybon, but the dyslexia in my brain is being
Charles Guybon.
Bygone?
I know.
By?
Let bygones be guy.
Yeah.
Let bygones be guybons.
Like, it is really fucking with me. But I do love the new plot for Charles that he gets turned into a honey trapping spy.
I think some men should get to be femme fatales. And that's that on that.
Yeah. Charles.
As a treat.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't also just like maybe if you wanted to make his name Charles, just don't spell it with a Z. It's like a rap name. Charles.
Charles. My name is Lil Charles.
Oh, yeah.
Z.
Charles.
Like, are we supposed to really pronounce that hard Z?
Charles.
You know, if and when the Wheel of Time on Amazon Prime gets to this character, are they going to really emphasize the Z?
Charles.
Charles! No, it's Charles. Charles? Speaking of people with B's in there.
Yeah, Charles Guybon will also turn
That's
into
not
1
his
billion.
real name, that's just the B's. I was hoping to find a...
Yeah, pronunciation. He's not important enough.
Sadly,
He only brings
yeah, sadly he's not in here.
10,000 soldiers. It also, this is just my, like, petty complaint. I hate that Elayne just, like, rejects the army that Rand gave her, which then, fine, sets up a plot of her having to build her own army, and then immediately she just gets another army.
Yeah, just another dude, another handsome man delivers an army to her through no effort of her own.
Yeah.
They were just already on the way.
And it just is, like, one or the other would be fine, but, like, you can't just be, like, no to Rand's army, yes to Charles's army. It just bothers me.
Yeah.
Like, make Elayne work for something in her whole life.
Woof. The only other thing that happens with Elayne is that this is just the constant Elayne chapter, you know? She's just walking through the palace at Camelin and she gets assailed by, like, 7 different people or groups of people. She comes across Rianne Corley, who's with 2 former Damon, one of whom was, like, taken prisoner in Tanchico, and one of whom is Shanshan born, and it's, like, a big deal because the one who was born in Shanshan has sort of finally started making steps toward not wanting to be a Damon anymore and asserting her individuality, but that's just mostly framed as her being emotionally volatile and fragile and deeply annoying to everyone around her, like kind of everyone else.
Sure.
We're also told that one of the Soldam has admitted to being able to see the weaves, and Elaine's like, great, send her back to Shanshan. And they're like, Rianne's like, so she can just get collared with the rest of the Damon? And Elaine's like, yeah, I don't care. She's did a crime against humanity by being a Soldam, so I do not care about her individually, and also it will be a good tactic to eventually take down the Shanshin, because that secret won't be able to be kept. And it's like, I don't know whose side we're supposed to be on in that particular argument. I think Robert Jordan has sort of been building the thesis that this whole Sildam being able to channel is the straw that will break the Shanshin Empire's back. But how they go about doing that seems to be up in the air a little bit. Elayne's strategy is about as sound as anyone else's, I guess. It's not great from a humanist perspective, or like a restorative justice perspective. And Rand clearly doesn't think very highly of it, but Elayne is like, I'm not emotional. I'm logical, and logically this is the correct thing to do. And it's just like, is it though?
Yeah, I have a couple of thoughts. My first is about, my thoughts are first around this idea that the fact that the Sildam can channel, like, breaking the Shanshin Empire does not make sense to me in the same way that I still don't fully grasp the significance of the, like, quote-unquote breaking of the Ale by revealing to them that they were once Tinkers. They're supposed to be these, like, huge cultural revelations that will just, like, shatter the foundation of everyone's cultural belief. And I just struggle with it because I don't see any, like, real-world parallel to this that I can fully wrap my head around. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not fully seeing it, but I feel like there's no core belief that I hold that is so integral to my sort of, like, sanity and grasp on reality that someone could take that away from me, and I would see, like, if that were true for my community, I would see the community crumble. I know there are things that can, like, really harm a community if you take a belief away from them. I just really can't grasp something that's so extreme it would collapse an entire empire.
Well, and speaking of, like, the Ale, it hasn't collapsed the Ale. Like, the majority, I would say, of the Ale community is persisting in their current form.
Yeah.
So Robert Jordan's own metaphor doesn't work.
Yeah, good point.
But yeah, I agree with you that, like, it is, when there are big revelations about a system of power, the way the system of power operates is to suppress that information.
Sure.
And usually they do so effectively, or at least people learn to live with it. Like, when the news broke about the rampant sexual abuse in the Catholic Church, that, like, obviously caused a lot of people to leave the church or have crises of faith, but the Catholic Church is still around and is still a powerhouse.
Yeah.
You know, that didn't break the church.
Yeah.
We still have a fucking pope.
Yeah. Good. That's a really good analogy, Emily.
So, like, empires don't just fall because of one, like, little itty-bitty thing. As big as you might think that is, like, they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Their thing is crisis management. The Shanshin Empire is a machine built on crisis management. They'll figure it out.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing that maybe just doesn't work for me, is, like, this is more true of the Shanshin than the Ale, but the Ale are also a warrior culture, so there are some parallels there of, like, I feel like, yes, cultures are made up of people, but cultures are not their people. Like, cultures can persist when they are things like warrior-based, values-based, a machine, you know? So you can't just, like, upset a few people and destroy the whole culture. That just doesn't work. And also, if this is the experiment that Robert Jordan wants to play with, I just don't think the groundwork is laid well enough with either of those cultures. Like, it's very much show, don't tell, and that just bothers me. Like, I'm told over and over again that the Ale finding out they were once pacifists is, like, horrific to them, but it's like, it was thousands of years ago.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing that, for us to understand your project, it would require us to be fully immersed in those cultures specifically, and for that, like, to be the point of the story, not the subplot.
Yes.
So, otherwise, we're just kind of like, yeah, I guess we'll take your word for it, but it really is transparent that we're taking your word for it. You know, you haven't done a lot to prove it to us.
Yeah. I feel like I did make a very good point about what I was trying to say about cultures. You said it much better with the idea that, like, the empire is a machine. And machines don't really need beliefs. They can just pick up a different one and keep plowing through. My second point about, like, Elayne's whole decision here is I feel like Robert Jordan is trying to set us up with this, like, very intense ethical dilemma. Is it the right thing to send a couple of women to be harmed if it ultimately means destroying the Shanshan Empire? It's like the trolley problem again.
Yeah, fucking trolley problem.
We've got the trolley problem.
This is more relevant if you listen to our side podcast. We don't watch Outlander, where we've had a lot of beef with the trolley problem lately.
Like, is it better to, like, harm a few people in order to destroy something that would save a bunch of people? Or does, like, ethics exist in your individual relationships and the small choices that you make? And I just feel like Robert Jordan doesn't get to do this. Like, he hasn't earned the right for us to have this ethical dilemma with Elayne when he just, like, literally doesn't give a shit about ethics at all in most of his subplots. Like, I don't know, like, again, contrasting this with, like, what's going on with Perrin. Like, we're just, like, bulldozing through Perrin, not allowed to pay attention to ethics, to these horrific things that are going on. Matt, in his own way, is also bulldozing through these exact same ethics. And suddenly Elayne is just, like, making a choice that, of course, we are uncomfortable with. But, like, I don't know, I feel like, again, because it is a woman, the framing is supposed to leave us a little bit more uncomfortable. And I just feel like he hasn't earned that. He hasn't earned that dilemma from me.
Yeah, it's exactly the same thing. Like, Robert Jordan can't just make subplots out of major issues the way that he's doing this. Like, this entire thing, the decision of how to handle this particular dilemma could be, like, a book in and of itself if we were writing a book in the style of, say, like, The Goblin Emperor.
Sure.
Which is about people making good choices and ethical choices and, like, how leaders handle leadership.
Yeah.
Da-da-da-da-da. But The Wheel of Time is clearly not devoted to that project, ethics and leadership. That's why Elayne is Queen of Andor.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
There's nothing ethical about that. She inherited it.
Yeah.
She's not fit for the job by virtue of anything except the fact that she was born to Morgoth, who also was not fit for the job.
Yeah.
Not to be like, women can't do anything, but Morgoth and Elayne aren't good queens. Sorry, if that's like your, you know, you're really devoted to the idea of the monarchy.
Yeah, it just, yeah. Again, it's like it's too big of a series trying to tackle too many heavy topics when, like you said, this decision, should we send this woman back, should be, like, have very intense focus on it. And not just be, like, something that's thrown out of hand in what is otherwise sort of a rest chapter between big events. Yeah. It's kind of really despicable on Robert Jordan's part. I don't know. I take a lot of beef with authors who use things like this as sort of just, like, scenery along the way to their major plot, which is somehow just a big fight that's going to resolve all the issues.
Yeah, it makes, like, actual ethical dilemmas, it, like, trivializes them, you know? Like, yeah, you're exactly right. The entire point of this series, the Wheel of Time series, is to get us to the last battle, where things will be decided in, like, a literal duel between the champion of light and the champion of dark. So yeah, having us be like, oh, but it's also a humanist project where everyone needs to be making the correct choices along the way, or somehow Rand will lose. Like, patently, that's not true.
No.
It doesn't matter what Elayne does here in terms of the overall plot.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And Robert Jordan can't convince us that it does, so why throw it in there?
Yeah.
That's just sort of, I guess, what you lose when you write a big book series that's just ultimately about being decided by who has better magic or sword powers.
Yeah.
Don't come at me with the fucking ethical dilemmas that Brandon Sanderson tried to write into A Memory of Light. Too little, too late. Besties.
Yeah, I also think, like, there's also nothing wrong with writing a story that's, like, going to be settled in a duel between the champion of the light and the champion of the dark. If you want to play on, like, that level of mythology, that's fine. Like, I don't know how relevant it is to the 21st century, but, like, that's okay. It's still enjoyable and fun. Like, other book series are getting much more into the minutia of ethical decisions and warfare and leadership, etc., etc. If you just want to be like, gotta train the best magician to fight the world's most evil magician. I'll be like, yeah, okay, that's fine. I understand the project.
There's stuff to do there, but
Yeah.
that's your project, Robert Jordan. I know you have 14 books, and it seems like you can do everything in those 14 books, but, I mean, your skill is a factor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't do things you're shitty at.
No, you're right. Mythology can be very relevant to the 21st century, and it's not fair for me to say I don't know how relevant it is. But it's like, yeah, commit to the project. And, like, that's obviously what you're good at. Like, the parts of Wheel of Time that are very mythological are the parts that are the most fun to read, because that's Robert Jordan's strength, and he's leaning into that.
Yeah, play to your strengths, bucko. Quit trying to get us.
Yeah, like, you
other shit.
don't need all these chapters about ruling countries and
while
shit.
pregnant.
Yeah, while pregnant.
Because you know so much about either of those things.
Because you have also been a pregnant woman ruling a monarch-based country. He's right what you know. So, anyway, those are my thoughts on Elayne's whole shtick.
Yeah, Elayne then runs into some of the sea folk who are like, I can't even remember now what the sea folks' beef is.
They're like, where is our apprentice who ran away with Meryl?
They're like, Meryl clearly kidnapped our very abused apprentice. And Elaine's like, okay, I don't know about that, but like, we don't know where she is. And they're like, stop lying to us. And Elaine's like, you call me a fucking liar? And they're like, no. And it's just like, why are we having, there's no point to this scene. Except to remind us that Meryl is gone, and so is Talon, the apprentice. But again, neither of those things is relevant to the overall series, so I'm not sure why we're being reminded of it. But anyway, that's those 3 chapters.
Yeah.
Perrin has acquired a great deal of fork root and is stressed about Fail, not the guy turning into beetles in front of his eyes. His priorities are so healthy.
His priorities are correct. Everyone who's worried about the beetle man needs to
chill the fuck out.
Chill the fuck out. You've never seen a guy turn into beetles? Come on.
What about this other guy's wife? You know?
Yeah, what about this
guy's
wife?
Wife? Have you considered that dude's wife?
If you haven't, then something's fucked up in your head.
Yeah. And Elaine's over here just doing little Elayne things.
Girl bossing. Too close to the sun.
And that's that. We're gonna still be with Elayne next time, unfortunately, but, you know, that's how it goes.
What a way to ring in 2023.
Win some, you lose some. Yeah, seriously.
Miserable. Welcome to 2023. Let's, God, I can't think of anything.
I know, it's hard.
It's too hard.
It's hard. So that's it.
We did it. Another episode of EHR. I'm glad after our week off we remembered how to do it.
I barely did. That should be obvious from this episode.
I feel like every time we skip a week, I sit back down at the microphone and I'm like, oh my god.
What am I doing?
What? How to speak?
So, thanks to Glenn Mackenzie for our theme song. And thanks to our patrons on Patreon and our followers on social media. Do you have anything to add?
Sorry, I just opened my locket. Maybe that'll be my sign off.
Okay.
No, I do. Thanks to our patrons for getting through that Trolley Problem episode of We Don't Watch Outlander.
Sorry. Sorry I uploaded the wrong audio at first.
No, that's fine. I just think that we got maybe a little too angry about the Trolley Problem.
I was really upset about it.
No, I was too. It's like, why is this happening? Ugh, philosophy sucks.
Yeah.
That's my hot take.
We both sound like Eleanor from The Good Place.
Who died and put him in charge?
Okay, do you have a sign off?
Yes. I was laughing when I was trying to talk about our patrons because I opened this tiny locket that Emily gave me for Christmas that has just 2 very, very small pictures. One is of Tibble and one is of Ed. They're so funny.
It's just like close-ups of their faces.
They're just like very close, and both of them look vaguely
haunted.
Yeah, like you'd see them in a Scooby-Doo castle and their eyes would be following you.
I picked the picture based on its creepiness.
I
It's
love
just them
it.
sitting next to each other looking like the twins in The Shining, and I was like, perfect.
Yeah, no, it is like my favorite thing I've ever owned.
I wanted to capture those vibes. Yeah, you've been wearing that locket.
Yeah, I love it. I love it so much. I can keep them close to my heart.
Just like Carrie Bradshaw
Yeah.
and her wedding ring from Aiden.
It's just like that episode of Sex and the City, you guys.
Those
That's my
things are.
whole life.
Okay, everyone, have a good year.
Yeah, we're done. See you in 2024.
Bye.